Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 7-minute workshop during which we chat with experts to break down complicated, timely, interesting topics that may affect you or your business in just 7 seconds. And that is quicker than it takes me to find my TV remote. I'm still looking for it. Um, Anyway, today we're going to be talking about the difference between accounting and finance. And while that might seem obvious to some of you, it is actually a question we get a lot. And to help, I'll be bringing on Trisha Tate. She's the principal and CFO at Art of Money Matters, and she's going to explain the different responsibilities of accounting and finance teams, the need for skills for both roles, when growing businesses need to think about hiring one or the other, and eventually both, and why all of this is important for founders to understand. Now, before I bring Trisha on, a quick reminder, if you have any questions throughout today's discussion, you can ask them in the comments. We'll get to them at the end of the conversation. Don't forget, you guys have been great at doing this. Tell us where you're tuning in from. Drop us a hello, a ciao, a konnichiwa, or whatever you choose. As I'd say every week, I'm here in the Middle East. I want to hear where you guys are from. We know you've signed in from all parts of the world, and we'd love to give you a shout out. So now, please join me in welcoming Trisha Tate. Hi, Trisha. Thanks for joining us.
Hi there. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, this is going to be fun. It may seem kind of basic to people, but, what would you say is the difference between accounting and finance? We kind of conflate those terms, but they're very different.
They are very different classes for anyone who has any finance and accounting background. But I see accounting as the building blocks to finance. You need to have the numbers right. They have to go in the right box, the right category, the right queue. And then finance takes it a level up, right? And finance allows you to analyze those numbers and tell stories and get anecdotes from those numbers in order for a business owner, in this case, to make critical decisions. If I can give two quick metaphors, if you've ever gone for an X-ray or an MRI, there's a technician in the room, and they give a report with a whole bunch of jargon and data and numbers and things like that. But it requires the doctor who has expertise and experience to analyze and read the tea leaves of those numbers to help diagnose the issue and then give you a treatment. Same kind of metaphor if you go to a mechanic. They run a diagnostic, they drive your car around the block, but then they go under the hood, analyze the issue, and they fix it. So I like to use those metaphors to simplify it.
You forgot the part where the mechanic charges me, way more money than I expected.
Well, that's what I'm sorry to say, but that's probably what a CFO would do. But that's what you're paying them for. You're paying them for to diagnose the issue at the moment and then tell you how to correct it.
All right,
one with integrity, actually.
Well, yeah. Let's hope. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the responsibilities of each, the accounting people and the finance people. And in our last workshop, we had some people asking, hey, are there any slides? And we thought we'd throw up a little graphic outlining this, but just talk to your own experience, Trisha, about the main responsibilities of accounting and finance.
Well, I would say it becomes very different depending on the stage of growth the business is in. When you're sort of in startup mode, startup phase, most people start with a CPA, right? Because they're trying to make sure that the taxes are reported and Uncle Sam gets paid appropriately. As the business gets bigger, it's important. Financial record keeping is important. And that's when usually a bookkeeper comes in, or a junior accountant, or you might have a big enough department or big enough transactions that you need an accounts payable clerk, an accounts receivable clerk. So all of those people come into play still in the accounting, making sure that every transaction has a home and it rolls up to reporting that makes sense. As you move along in your business, you're kind of in the growth phase. Now you probably want some analysis done. You want to make some strategic decisions around pricing and profitability and cash flow management and things like that. that's when you need to look at your financial reports and your key performance indicators, KPIs, to really figure out what's going on within the business. What are the areas of strength? What products and services make the most sense to like really put marketing dollars behind? Where can we reduce expenses? In many cases, especially around the pandemic, people were looking to manage cash flow. So how can we critically manage cash flow? That's another thing that a financial person or a virtual CFO would do. And two more things that come to mind. A lot of people go to funders, whether it's investors or they go to bankers. And the financial statements that are important to them are the balance sheet, which most business owners don't even care about or know why that's important. So helping a business owner understand how to strengthen their balance sheet, therefore strengthen the value of their business, becomes really important. So I see analysis on that slide on like the accounting side, but analysis doesn't really come into play until it's the finance side. So accounting is quality control. And that's why you have your controllers there. Sorry, I didn't add that, because once you become like a really big organization, then these names break down differently. So the bookkeeper might be chopped up into 3 different parts. Above somebody doing accounting would be the controller, right? They do the quality control and the risk management over the bookkeeper or accounting clerks. And then above the controller is a CFO, and a CFO is playing a very strategic role in all of the things that I mentioned. And one thing that's missing from this slide on the finance side is succession planning. I literally this week got off the phone with a client. They're succession planning. They look at every area of their operations. They want to know the value of their company in case they want to merge or sell. So that's something else a finance person would do.
Okay, and I just want to thank those who are shouting out the hellos. We've got people from Montreal and also Ontario, a couple Canada representatives here, Texas, Sao Paulo, and Napa, California as well. So thank you for tuning in and from all over the world and the country. And we also are getting a lot of people in finance saying that this is a question they get asked a lot. So they're glad to see us discussing it. I wanted to kind of break down some of what you just said a little bit more for, say, the small business owner. You kind of touched on, paying your taxes and record keeping and stuff like that. But as a small business owner, why are these differences important to understand? And when do you how do you know when to go beyond having, say, an outsourced bookkeeper to having a full-time accountant to also having a finance function as well?
Well, because I get this question so often, I actually created a slide around like the different stages of a business's growth and what should be their financial strategy or focus and who they should hire at what point. So if anyone, wants that slide, they can connect with me on LinkedIn. But let me look, if you're at the startup phase, first of all, at any phase, tax reporting is critical and important, right? So you have your certified public accountant for that. Some CPA firms offer bookkeeping. I believe in a separation of church and state. So the people doing the bookkeeping should not necessarily be the same people doing bank reconciliations and the tax reporting. That's just my way of thinking about things. And also bookkeeping, which is financial record keeping, allows the manager or the leadership to see on a regular basis how their business is performing. So they could just by looking at sales over time on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, expenses over time, even looking at like the changes in their balance sheet. Are they more debt heavy? Do they have a lot of cash flow? Looking at their, all of these things is what a bookkeeper would do, making sure that your invoices are paid on time and you don't have many outstanding invoices because that affects cash flow. And if you're a product-based company, managing inventory, right? And even if you have you might have an external spreadsheet. Usually bookkeepers should be working in accounting software, whether it's NetSuite or QuickBooks or Xero, but they might be using also Excel to to track certain financials. So that's where you get to like the bookkeeping function. When the owner wants to make decisions around pricing, or I've had a client that said, many clients that say, we made $500,000. Where did the cash go? Have no idea where the cash went. We're thinking about shifting our pricing menu. At what revenue band can we hire more people, right? How much more in revenue do we need to make to hire more people? How can we show that we're being bankable? When you start to ask more of those strategic questions, and there's even deeper analysis, like you can do analysis on employee work, output, right? Utilization rate. You could do further analysis on inventory and how is it churning quickly to turn into cash? How are your assets turning into cash? All of those really deep analytical things and questions, that's when it's time to look for an outsourced CFO. And that's what our business does at The Art of Money Matters.
Got it. We have some more hellos coming in from, I hope I'm saying this right, Uppsala, Sweden. And then we have someone from Chicago, somebody else from Las Vegas, and also somebody from England. So hello to all of you. I'm going to open it up to some questions from the audience for those tuning in. If you have questions, still keep commenting, keep shouting out. We'll do our best to say hello and answer as many questions as we can in the remainder of this Q&A time.
Fritz, this 7 minutes is going by really quickly.
I know, it always does. We're kind of into the Q&A part with the audience, and one of the questions is about skills and experience that an accountant that you might hire typically has. How do those differ?
All right, so this is a great question. First, I want to clarify something. Every accountant is not a CPA, but every CPA is an accountant. So when I speak to business owners about, their greatest financial challenge, struggle, whatever, and they get into, oh, I have an accountant, I want to know, what is that person doing? Because that person might not be doing the tax preparations. And if for any reason you need to advocate in front of the IRS, that's what a certified public accountant could do. So I just wanted to clarify that at first. For a CPA, you want to see that they officially have a CPA, right? Because that's a certification that you could look up. How many years they've been in business. You want to, when you speak to them on the phone, in terms of a CPA, you want to find out how many clients they have, what industries they specialize in. If you're a tech startup, there are some CPAs that focus on tech startups. If you're in manufacturing, there are some CPAs that know the ins and outs. If you're in real estate, same thing. You want to know their level of experience. You also want to know who's on their team supporting them and how many clients do they have. Because I hear from a lot of people that CPAs are often very busy. They have hundreds of clients, they're doing tax returns, and they might not have time for you to give you that time and attention. And that's another reason why it's important to have different financial professionals on your team, not just a CPA. With a bookkeeper, the interesting thing is there is no certification really for bookkeepers. There is an association for bookkeepers, so maybe people could put that as a placard on their LinkedIn. Some people are QuickBooks advisors, so you can search them in QuickBooks. Or some people are certified under NetSuite or certified in all these different financial technologies. So maybe you look for their various certifications and how many years they have been doing what they're doing and that they know accounting. Another thing I always see is that a lot of bookkeepers only know the software, but they don't know accounting. So I go into books and people are like, yeah, I got a bookkeeper. And I go into the books don't make sense because the person doesn't really know accounting. And then a finance professional, make sure the person has finance background. I've worked on Wall Street for 8 years. I've been a finance professional for 21 years. I'm not just starting to offer advisory services. I've always been a financial analyst. So you want to look at the person's background, connect with them on LinkedIn, and then get references, right? Get references and make sure you have a one-on-one conversation with the person because finance is a very sticky topic. It's a very personal thing, and you want to make sure you could trust the person and like, and that they care and that they have a level of compassion. You know, that is one of the most important values to me in working with a client. You know, I show them a sense of compassion because sometimes I have to tell them things they don't want to hear. So I have to make sure that we have the right relationship.
Right. We were talking about finance, the finance function a little bit, and the KPIs and data and more of the role that finance plays versus the accountant. And I'm wondering, one thing we haven't really touched on is the FP&A function, and maybe some of the other different kinds of skills that people who are in finance have had to gain over time to do
Mm-hmm.
that job.
I would definitely. So the specialties come in when you're at a certain size or you're in a certain sector. When I say sector, if you are venture capital backed or equity backed, you know, you want to make sure someone understands cap tables and valuations, right? And like really serious forecasting. As a financial professional, I could do forecasts, but sometimes you need, you know, a discounted cash flow. Like now you're getting into like advanced finance, which is not where all small businesses need to be. But if you are venture backed or equity backed, that might be something that you have to have a specialty in as a financial person. When you get to, I would say my clients are somewhere between 500,000 and like 20 million. When you get to maybe 50 million or more is when you really start building out an accounting and financial department. And if you have multiple subsidiaries or you're global as a company, that's where it will be important to have, first of all, an accounting software and system that can handle all of that data and information, because that's what financials are, right? Data that can handle all of that data and segment it out into the different departments or the different subsidiaries or the different countries or locations wherever the business is, and then be able to dissect the numbers in various ways. And that's where like a financial planning and analysis person would come in. But that's when a business is just more complicated.
Got it. Got it. And what are some of the, you know, we talked about some of these roles, so kind of what are some of the systems that or tools that are required for these positions, for these functions within the organization?
Yeah. So when you're at the bookkeeper level, which is kind of like junior accountant level, you want to make sure that you have an accounting software solution that fits your business and specializes in your industry, right? So having a reliable software. If you do a lot of accounts payable, I worked with a client that like had 200 vendors, right? So you want to have a financial technology that handles accounts payable. If you have a lot of invoicing, there are other systems that support accounts receivable. If you have a lot of T&E, now over the past year in the pandemic, we didn't have a lot of travel and expenses, but there are softwares, you know, around that. I don't want to speak exclusively about any one software, but at this point in the accounting industry, there's so much fintech. It's just a matter of what works best for you. There's inventory management systems. There's cash flow tools. There's a tool for everything. There's tools for tax prep. But you just have to figure out what is the right tool, and then what is the workflow in using that tool. You don't want to just invest in a piece of technology because it costs a lot. Even if the subscription is $99, it costs a lot over time. You want to make sure you have the right workflow and it fits within your operations. I hope that's the kind of answer you were trying to get to.
Yeah, no, I think it's helpful. And unfortunately, we are out of time, but we really appreciate you joining us today and talking through this topic with us, Tricia.
Sure. Thank you for having me. If anyone wants to connect, I'm available, Tricia M. Tate, on LinkedIn with The Art of Money Matters. Thank you for having me, friends.
Great. Thank you. And as always, thanks to all of you for tuning in. We have a few more hellos I want to shout out before we sign off: Guadalajara, Mexico, some folks in upstate New York, and in India. So again, thank you for tuning in. If you like this interview, we host workshops and discussions with business leaders and entrepreneurs each week. So be sure to give us a follow so you never miss out. Thank you, and